Let's see. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's episode of Curiosity Corner Live. We're going to get started in about a minute or so. We're going to give everyone at home a little bit more time to connect and join us. Let's see. Oh, good morning, Lindsay. I like it when people are early birds and join us early. So while we're waiting for people, I can show you the results of last week's video. So last week I made paper. And if you haven't seen that video yet, it's on our YouTube. Check it out. So this is the paper that I made. It's all dry now. I can write on it, do whatever I want. And then this is the orange paper that I showed you that was wet, but now it's dry. Let's see. Hi, Anthony. Oh, Lindsay, your child lost a tooth at the doctor's office. Was it the first tooth that they've lost? Because that's a pretty awesome story. I actually lost my first tooth at a Chinese restaurant. Fun story. That was a very long time ago. Oh, you made the paper too, Lindsay? Awesome. How did it? I hope it turned out good. So, just a reminder, the Great Lakes Science Center is still closed for the health, safety, and wellness of our guests, our staff, and our partners. But we are still bringing you science content right here at Curiosity Corner Live every day at 10:30 and at 3. So I think we're going to get started. Like I said, my name is Joy. It says on the little, I don't know what direction it is. I think it's that direction. And the little box in the corner. Let's see. Oh, hi, Nathan and Leo. I'm glad you love watching me. I love that you join us every day. So today I am coming to you live from my home, and we are going to talk about paint inspired by our friends at PPG. Now, PPG makes all sorts of different paints and coatings for a number of different industries. And they have facilities all over the world, including some right here in Northeast Ohio. So that is pretty darn cool. Now, the thing with paint is we don't have the fancy machinery or technology that companies like PPG use to make paint, but we can make paint at home using stuff that we have around the house. Because all paint has a few things in common. All paint has a pigment, it has a binder, and it has a solvent. Now, the pigment is what makes a paint a specific color. The binder is what helps things stick to whatever you're trying to paint. And the solvent is what makes the paint able to be spread and painted with. So you can see all of these things in action using something really easy to make, and that is flour paint. Now, in order to make paint with flour, you need 4 ingredients. 1 is flour, because it's in the name. 2 is water, food coloring, and vegetable oil. So in order to start with this, I have 1/4 cup of flour. This is flour. It's in a bowl. This is your binder. This is what's going to help your paint stick to whatever you're trying to paint. Now, I could just throw this flour everywhere. I'm not going to, because 1, that would be not paint. It would just be flour. And 2, that would make a giant mess, and I want to make paint. So I need to add my pigment. Quick. Somebody give me a color. If I can make it with food coloring, I will make that color paint. Go. Let's see. While I wait for you to give me a color, I'm going to read the comments. Oh, Janeda is here. Oh, you think I'm funny? Thank you. I try. Right, give me a color. I have red, orange. I do not have orange. I can make orange. Let's see. I can't make pink with food coloring. I can do red, though. I can try doing red. Although if I don't do enough red. Oh, wait, I got a couple of votes for blue. All right. I can do blue because I do have blue food coloring. So I'm going to add my blue food coloring. This is going to be my pigment. So when you're adding food coloring to your homemade paint, you're probably going to need a little bit more than you would expect. Usually if you put food coloring in water, you'll need a drop or 2 in order to make that color nice and bright. But think about when you mix regular paints, if you add white to anything, it's going to make whatever color you use lighter. So you might need a few extra drops of food coloring for this. I'm going to start with 15 and go from there. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. That is your math lesson. That's how you count to 15. I don't know. So I have now spotted flour. Yay! This is not quite paint yet, but I have my pigment and I have my binder. But what I still need is my solvent. And in this case, my solvent is going to be water. So that water is going to thin out this chalky, floury mess into paint. Now, there's not a specific measurement that says you must have this amount of water. So what I would recommend doing is adding a little bit at a time and then stirring it and testing where your texture is at. Because some people might like their paint a little bit thicker. Some people might like it a little bit thinner. But what's important is that you have it to a sort of paint-like consistency. Because if you don't add enough water, you get this like doughy, I'm not sure what this is, consistency. And I already did the Play-Doh video, so that's not what I'm going for. But if you add a little bit at a time, you can sort of control where that texture is at. And here's the thing, this is what a lot of what chemists do, is they add chemicals in different amounts and see what happens. And that's kind of what we are doing here. Because when you mix flour and water together, sometimes you get the dough, sometimes you get sort of like a paste, and paste is fine. You just can't really spread it as well. But if you add the right amount of water, you get a nice paint consistency. Oh, let's see, Anthony, you're in your blanket fort? That sounds awesome. I wish I was in my blanket fort. But it's really dark in there, so it's really hard to live stream from my blanket fort. All right, let's check on this now. It's kind of like in the gloppy paste stage, but it's getting there. I'm going to add a touch more water to try and thin this out some more. And there we go. Aha. And we have, that's starting to look more like paint to me. Yeah, we have homemade paint right here. And the cool thing about this homemade paint is it makes different textures. So if you thin it out enough, it might go completely smooth. If you thin it out too much, it's too wet, it'll probably make your paint all flat, your paper all floppy and limp. Let's see. Oh, is it dangerous for people under 5? I would say everything in this paint is edible. It's flour and water and food coloring. I would definitely recommend having an adult to help you, but it's not dangerous. I would also not recommend like sitting here and eating it like cereal, but it's not going to hurt you if you do. It just won't taste very good. But yeah, definitely have an adult help you, partially because it's fun and partially because it's messy. So once you have your paint all mixed together, you are ready to use it. So all you need to do is grab a piece of paper. Yeah, please don't eat it. Grab a piece of paper and just paint right on. I actually started this painting yesterday, so I'm just going to go ahead and finish it right now. And we have our paint that, again, please don't eat. But you can paint with it. And because this is made of flour, it leaves some interesting textures on your paper. And I just made a nice little flower using the blue paint I just made and some yellow and green paint that I made yesterday. So you can make your very own masterpiece with flower paint that's going to leave some really fun textures. Now, here's the cool thing. PPG makes more than one type of paint, and we can too. So we can also make watercolor paint. And watercolor paint needs a few more ingredients, but you get to do some really fun chemistry. So in here, I have some baking soda. This is 4 tablespoons of baking soda. And to that, I'm going to do one of my favorite chemistry things ever and add some vinegar because it's fun. So you're just going to add 2 tablespoons of vinegar. And so this is sort of combining a binder and a solvent right off the bat. Now, when you add baking soda to vinegar, you get fizzing, which you can't really see right now, which is unfortunate, but you get some fizzing. So 1, watch the fizzing because it's fun and it makes me happy. And 2, let the fizzing stop because that means the chemical reaction is done once the fizzing stops and you can add the rest of your ingredients. So to that baking soda and vinegar, you are going to add half a teaspoon of corn syrup, just like that. It is very slow to pour. There we go. And 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. Already measured in the cup. Definitely don't eat this one. This will taste really, really bad. Okay. Again, will it make you sick? Probably not. It will taste terrible. Don't eat it. But once you have all that in there, you just start stirring. Now, if you're stirring this, it'll be really, really thick. It'll be very, very thick. Because this is sort of acting as a non-Newtonian fluid. It has properties of both solids and liquids. And we're going to have a video this weekend about non-Newtonian fluids, so make sure you check that out. But it'll be really, really thick. And then as long as you stir, it'll be stirrable. And then once you have it all combined, you can pour it into your cups. I actually made some of these earlier. So once you pour it into a cup, you don't need a lot in the cup. You just need enough to really cover that bottom. And I'm all sticky now. This is why you need an adult, because you get very messy. And then once it's in the cups, you add your pigment. So I made some a couple days ago, because once you stir everything in together, it takes a couple days to dry out. So this is what it looks like when it's dry. You can kind of see that block in the bottom of my cup. I made all of the food coloring colors, just like that. Now, this is kind of like if you've ever gotten those like watercolor sets for school and you open that little plastic case and there's like those little blocks of color that are individually separated. Kind of the same thing once they dry. So have a little bit in each cup. And the way that these work is you just get your brush, you get it wet, you got the paint, and then you can just paint. So again, I have another one that I started that I'm going to finish. So I'm going to get some water on my brush, pick up some paint, and I'm just going to add some paint to my picture. And the cool thing about watercolor paint is you kind of can control how bright your colors are, because the more water you add, the more diluted or the colors will be. So if you add more water, the colors will be more pale. And if you add less water, the colors will be a lot brighter. So it depends on what you're going for with your picture. All right. Let's see. You can make your very own watercolor creation using stuff you have at home. And there's different ways you can experiment with it with adding the amount of water. If you want, you can also try writing with a crayon on the paper and then painting over it with watercolor, because the wax does not like the watercolor paint, so it'll repel. So we have made 2 different types of paint using science. And that brings me to your challenge for today. And that is to make your own paint at home. You can make the flower paint that I showed you. You can make watercolor paint. If you have any other ideas on how to make paint, try it. And then see what kind of art that you can create using science. So we really want to see what you come up with. So whatever art you make sure you take photos, share them with us on social media, tag us, use our hashtag StayCuriousCLE. We really, really want to see what you can make. Now, make sure you come back right here at 3 o'clock. I have one more way that you can make paint at home that has some pretty cool results. I'm very excited about it. So make sure you come back then. And come back every day at 10:30 and at 3 for our next episode of Curiosity Corner Live. So get creating, have fun, and until next time, stay curious.